Beyond Bitcoin Hangouts are meant to give everyone a voice, a chance to speak with others who are passionate advocates for expanding the blockchain's use cases out into the world and beyond. Do you have a crypto community you would like to represent and hold open Hangouts for? If so, you might find yourself on the path to owning a stake in Beyond Bitcoin. We are looking for people who care about people who want to bring others together, because crypto communities are people. Beyond Bitcoin is a movement of thinkers and doers in the crypto space. And if you feel you are one of them, reach out to beyondbitcoin@gmail.com for more information on how to debut your community's efforts to reach to the stars and beyond.
As I remember it right, basically, Data wanted to start with the first announcement and a status update about PeerPlays, right? Well, then please start.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Bahai. I am the president of Bunker Chain Labs Incorporated, the company which is heading up the PeerPlays project. Today, we're going to be giving an update regarding our logo contest. We started that earlier this week. The logo contest is to give PeerPlays a fresh new logo that's going to be really cool and really reflect the awesomeness of it all. So if you haven't seen it, I'll give you the website. It's peerplays.com/logo-contest.html. I'll put the link in the text afterwards. But we've already got 10 entries. We've got people voting there. If you are a PeerPlays holder, you definitely want to get involved in the vote there so that you can have a say on what the new look for PeerPlays is going to be. There's a huge prize. We're offering $1,250 for the winner. So if you have any graphic skills, there's definitely well worth the effort to getting a new PeerPlays logo. Next Friday is coming up our first milestone, which is the profit sharing module. We're going to be releasing some explainer materials also at that time regarding the PeerPlays network and how it works, along with the profit sharing. And for the month of July, we'll be focusing on social sharing, incentives, weekly updates. During that month, basically, is when we're going to be introducing the incentives to referring people to see what PeerPlays is all about and what we're doing. So you want to go to peerplays.com and join our mailing list so that you can keep up on the weekly updates. And that's all for now.
All right, that sounds pretty good. Can you give us also a little bit of an update after the DAO crash? What is your idea for the DAO proposal? Do you have anything here?
Yes. Last week, as we were in the midst of the crash, as we were having the update, we did, prior to that, decide we were going to put that on hold. And that hasn't really changed. We've gotten a lot of feedback from people. Some of the people who previously were proponents of the DAO have now left. They were the same ones that were really encouraging us to go to the DAO with our proposal, but they've since left.
So basically, only the older folks, they stayed, and all the new investors got heavily burned, and they are now pulling out.
Taking a wait and see approach. We're waiting for the dust to settle. See if they make a recovery. If there is a possibility in the future that we can get our proposal submitted and move forward, we'll look at it at that time. For now, though, there isn't much we can do. So PeerPlays was from the very beginning was not dependent on the DAO. It was something that came up midway because of so many people wanting us to be involved. But we have all the funding we need to move forward. There's nothing that really changes. The milestones we set are the same ones that we set back in May, and we're still on course to meet those.
Yeah, I think you're actually pretty lucky with that one because you already got all the funding from the other communities. and you're not depending on extra funding from the DAOs. I think as a lot of other digital or blockchain startups are, especially Slockit, I think they really wanted to actually start the DAO to fund themselves, but now they have nothing left, so it's pretty bad for them.
Yeah, I don't think Slot's in very good shape right now, unfortunately.
So, Data, what have you decided about holding your funds in Bitcoin as the date approaches?
Taking a wait to see approach again. We're basically we're watching it carefully. At some point, we are likely going to take a portion and convert it into fiat, and then keep the rest going forward. But we want to make sure that the project has the funds necessary to move forward.
Yeah, you need some type of a hedge strategy, I guess.
I sure wish
Exactly.
you hedged it. I sure wish you hedged it into a bit asset.
Well, we aren't planning to divest the nearly $20,000 in BitUSD that we currently hold.
Is there enough liquidity to do that? I guess nobody knows the answer to that.
Well, probably the question is if you want to reverse it and exchange it back to BitShares and then sell the BitShares, or if you want to directly sell the BitUSD against Bitcoin, right?
But he could have goosed a whole bunch of markets like BitGold and BitSilver and other things with that amount of Bitcoin and offset some of his risk on the halving thing that's going to happen pretty soon.
Is that mid-month, end of month, or does anybody know what the date is, or is it's code dependent as to network activities as to when the actual time of the switch takes place?
Well, you can't pinpoint the exact time because the blocks take different amounts of time, but I guess somebody said it was going to be around July the 18th.
So basically, I think we all have to wait and see how the Bitcoin halving is going to come about. I would like to continue with a little short update about the latest stealth proposal. So Ken and I, we are right now working basically on the forum announcement to give you a better overview about how we want to build stealth, what are going to be the new features and the new security issues, and also the new benefits for everybody. And I'm looking forward also to get a part of your feedback. What do you think about a potential stealth transaction or transfer in the BitShares platform? If you would support such a thing before we are starting to invest a lot of money and so on, I would love to get some further feedback from you too.
0.4 swings, and 0.2 swings and stuff. And when you get that kind of movement, it's intense because normally it's like, right here we're moving.
JWF, are you trying to say something?
And bit cent moves rather than one bit cent move, So it was pretty intense. There's still a good amount of movement going on. It's not as.
Well, to give you a little perspective from our side, we thought a lot about the different stealth features in the past. And I think it's going to be a really valuable feature for the BitShares blockchain, because what we noticed when we are talking to a couple of bigger merchant and vendors, they have a problem that when they are opening a merchant account on the BitShares blockchain, then basically all of their competitors could basically follow them and see all their daily transactions. They could analyze it. They could basically work out a different strategy just to conquer them and to also analyze all the transactions. And they actually ask us to really provide any kind of extra stealth feature or any kind of extra security. And I think for us, that was basically a really clear signal to start thinking more about a stealth feature, so that basically you have a blockchain validated transaction, but you cannot see it through a blockchain explorer. And I think it's also going to be really valuable for private people, but also for bigger companies, just to say, okay, I have my money sitting in the BitShares blockchain, but it's not going to be as visible as before or as it is today. What are your thoughts about transparency on the blockchain?
Well, for me, I've kind of grappled with this whole issue of transparency versus stealth and privacy for quite some time, and it's really it seems like a yin-yang thing that you can't have both. I mean, there's clear benefits to having a blockchain just from the standpoint of being able to transfer funds from one person to another quickly without any major fees, etc. So that's a big win, and I don't see that aspect going away or changing. But with regard to stealth, you can't have transparency and privacy all at the same time. I mean, there's got to be some way to create a middle of the road that will meet all the needs of merchants and individuals, because one of the things we was hoping to do with cryptocurrency was to be able to hold people accountable for how they're spending their funds. At least not everybody, but or governments and organizations and institutions, you want to be able to see how they're taking care of your funds that you've invested with them. So in that regard, you kind of need transparency. But if we put these features in place like stealth to protect people that don't want transparency, like merchants, then you're going to create an issue for the people that need transparency, because they can say, well, we can just put it in stealth and hide it from the public so they won't be able to see it. So there's a yin yang. I'm not sure how this will work out, but I really see this as kind of a major philosophical problem with the blockchain in terms of the transparency and privacy issues.
Well, I think the point is, if you use, for example, the Bitcoin blockchain, then you're basically hidden behind those long hash codes. But since we're using a naming system in BitShares, this is not possible. Maybe you can try like a really unhuman-friendly code, but then all the naming system is worthless.
Well, the naming system is just for us humans to be able to identify accounts easier, but it's exactly the same between Bitcoin and BitShares right now. It's just the naming that makes it more convenient for you to be able to find a particular account. But if you had a lookup table for the cryptic Bitcoin numbers, you could create the same kind of thing for that.
Right, but most people don't know that, and so perceptions are what counts here.
Well, that's a good point.
So are we still looking at blinded amounts by default?
I think this is still up to discussion. There could be a lot of different ways how to implement such a system, if to say, okay, it's all by default or not.
One thing that's a good question, and Ken, you can chime in on this, is I know you've been a big proponent of not the blinded transactions as kind of a halfway measure, but a full boogie stealth as we had originally envisioned it. Now, with regard to the middle of the road we were just talking about, could the blinded transactions actually provide a middle of the road benefit to where it might be the best way to go? I'm just asking the question.
Blinded amounts are basically just an easy way to have a minimum of privacy. It's certainly a first step towards real privacy on the blockchain, but it's not the only feature that we would require to have full privacy. Full privacy would also require that you somehow hide sender and receiver, or even go towards mixing of multiple inputs and outputs using either a mixer or what's it called again? Ring signatures. Thanks, Ken. Still, adding blinded transfers is a low-hanging fruit, way lower than deploying the whole stealth thing.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. We have the whole backup issue that's a really major concern with regard to stealth too, and that's the biggest thing to overcome there. But the blinded transactions, I'm kind of intrigued with the idea of kind of working out this middle of the road problem so that transparency is possible to a degree to meet people that want to track institutions or other tracking capabilities, but it's like you say, it's not adequate for 100% total privacy, and whether or not that's the blinded transactions are adequate enough for a merchant, I can't answer that question, but it would be an interesting thing to pose to them and see.
I think regarding stealth, we need to consider that with the further development of it, it's not going to have the same hangups as the original design. Their objective is to actually improve on it and make it a much better system. So whatever hangups with the original design, which nobody was really happy with, they are going to be overcoming that with coming up with something that's new. In regards to the market, I think Chris saying that in talking to business people, there's a specific market that wishes to have complete stealth, like where there's no trace of the transactions. In that case, then I think they're looking to actually create something new.
I see. Well, that it's definitely it's a definite clear signal from the market in terms of needing some kind of privacy. Now, you just elaborated a little bit their data and said that they need total privacy, so that's good to know if that's the case. So, at any rate, that's important that we've got to get that established, and you're probably right as far as coming up with something new that will be a much better approach to stealth than what we had envisioned in the past would probably be something that we're going to have to look at to meet the needs of the market as was expressed to them.
I gave a conference. I was moderated a conference at the Future Money Summit, and identity was in fact the issue. And what resolved from that is that people have control. It's a matter of control. Who controls the identity? Is it the person to whom it belongs, or is it the merchant? So I think it's just a matter of control. And then there's a whole range of anonymity until point of transaction that can occur for each different transaction. But isn't the matter of control central to this?
I think so. That's a very good way to put it. Definitely, Dan.
I think at the end we have to figure out what is going to be basically the different features that we can provide and that are working. So everybody has basically a different demand and a different vision how to do a transfer. I also was recently at a conference, and they were talking about a new blockchain for charities. And they were working with one of the biggest charities in the world, and they offered them basically to make everything transparent and to make it more easy to track the money and to also avoid like double spending or chains of charities behind. And they told basically the story that after long negotiations, the biggest charity jumped off. They said, like, we cannot do that. We cannot really be as transparent as you wish to be because our processes are so corrupt in a certain way. And this startup now is working with a couple of other charities, and they will bring that forward. But it's a huge topic. Regardless, I think from our way, yes, we're going to build basically a new feature. Unfortunately, cannot really expose too much right now, but we're going to post a forum post and basically end of this week, beginning of next week. And we're going to provide more information. What are our plans? And we're looking forward to a really good discussion with all of you. All right, I wanted to talk about another topic next to the stealth stuff, and the topic I was wondering about was after the DAO happened basically last week, and we had a lot of issues. I think in the whole blockchain community, we had a lot of problems with Poloniex freezing, Bitfinex going down, and shutting down for temporary, because either their trading engine was just not able to catch up with everything. And I was asking myself, like, what is a good way how we can start promoting the DEX itself and those kind of events, because those are actually like a really unique chance to really go out and talk about the BitShares blockchain and so on, and to make more advertisement around it. And right now, of course, we don't really have any coordinated marketing team who could do that, but I would still look out for your feedback. What do you guys think? How can we use those moments in history and make it profitable for us?
I have a paper coming out on Monday, which is highly critical of DAO, VC, and even the banking consortia as the means for approaching these blockchain deployments across the globe. And that was we actually submitted that before the DAO, so it's just the timing is just incredible. And then the white paper for the National Society of Professional Engineers is being voted on like today, and that'll get published right after this other article comes out. And what I'm essentially describing is the BitShares 2 protocol. We've chosen that as what we would want to use. So yeah, we've got some material coming out in the next week, which we really hope will make a dent in this discussion, at least put a whole new face on it. And one of the defining characteristics is the adjudicated smart contract, where you have an individual who's qualified to make to flip a switch, integrate with the blockchain. So you're not having these autonomous contracts. You have adjudicated contracts, and then oracle contracts would be where that individual adjudicating is in fact the person qualified to make the judgment, or more qualified by some means to make the judgment. And this kind of resolves to the proof of stake algorithm if you kind of turn inside out, where you have groups of individuals who are securing the nodes of the blockchain. So I think it's a very, very bright future for that discussion right now, and I hope we hit it. I hope everybody in this group can help us promote the idea and, in a sense, carry their ideas forward with it.
Where are you going to publish the paper? Going to be available by PDF or going to be an ebook?
Actually, it's in the Journal of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners.
Oh,
Yeah, it's epic.
non-public seems.
I don't know. I think it'd be public. I mean, I'll give you guys distribute a copy to anybody. I'm pretty sure it's public. It's not a subscription or anything. Insurance commissioners, they're the public domain. They're part of the they're appointed by the governors of the states. So you have to disclose that stuff.
Well, that sounds pretty promising. So there's new papers for us to read.
Yeah, actually, I've got the preview and it looks pretty good. I just have to hold it until it's published on Monday or Tuesday. And again, the idea is what I'm going to do after that is start collecting endorsements. I'm going to start getting insurance commissioners to agree with that. Then we've got a project at Stanford, which we're going to get. We have an endorsement from Stanford and from MIT, all pending these papers. And then we'll start breaking the news that proof of stake is superior, and that it works as a security mechanism in a real world as opposed to a virtual world.
How many pages is the white paper?
The white paper is around, I think about 25, 26. And then there's there's a bunch of appendices and so forth that aren't included. And we may disclose those separately or attached. I'm not sure, but it's a mathematical proof. It really goes through like the 3-trick pony that the blockchain is, and discusses each one in terms of its insurability. And then we present the whole blockchain. Say the ecosystem has to be insurable, so you look at the individual parts, and if each individual part is insurable, then the whole thing is insurable. If it is insurable, then you can reduce the cost of capital towards bridging the capitalization gap. So the idea is not to deploy blockchain in finance, but to deploy it in insurance, and with the objective of reducing the volatility and therefore bringing down the cost of capital. So that these projects can be, funded at a normal rate of, normal rate of finance, not this 1,000% VC bullshit and stuff like that. So that's the idea, is to use it to eliminate risks so that capitalization could be much more fluid in fiat. And then obviously then we start applying cryptos to the currency, but you really have to stabilize the money by eliminating the risk. And that was brought to our crisp attention with the DAO failure.
Do you have co-authors, or are you the sole author?
I am actually the sole author, but it's part of it's part of the Financial Technologies Task Force for the National Society of Professional Engineers. So that's who we are. That's the ones who are making this position, who are taking this position. And there was 10 other engineers on that task force. They're to various degrees of understanding among them. But I wouldn't put them in front of the media. I'm the guy who put this all together based on lots of research. Now I just have to get, I hope we're right, but I don't want to take credit for it because I was vetted and I stole ideas from everybody. So it's not like I came up with this. I pretty much stole ideas from you, ideas from Ethereum. You'll see those in there.
And has your paper already had some peer review?
Yes, components. I think Crypto Prometheus went through some of this with me. Even Justin, I've been talking with Justin it's been going on for a year now. I've been on this forum several times talking about these subjects. Actually, you all have been part of this. You have been part of this document over the last year. And then of course the task force, multiple videos that I have up. So yeah, there's, it's not a blind shot. It's certainly, it's a non-traditional approach, but it's not a blind shot.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I hope something happens. If not, then it's like, geez, a hell of a lot of work, and goes blank, but who knows?
Well, I think we are looking forward to get the links and to have a first peek into that paper. That sounds pretty good. I just want to draw also your attention. There was recently a new study by KPMG, and they also mentioned, thanks to Fox, BitShares, Graphene, and also Steem. So we're getting basically more and more into the focus with DPOS, which is pretty cool. You can find the link in the mumble right now. Do we have any other kind of like ideas or feedback? What can we do to really be more present, basically, on the market, talking about the decentralized exchange, talking about our technology? What are you doing right now to promote BitShares when you're not working on your own project? Jody, are you trying to say something?
I have a suggestion, but it really would be for Steem, and it'd be for Ned or Bytemaster, is that when people sign up for Steem, why not check and see if the name is available for a BitShares account, and give them the option to get a BitShares account too and get registered in BitShares at the same time.
I think they're trying to stay neutral about which cryptocurrency they promote on Steem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of people in many other cryptos, and obviously everybody that is serious about Steem and does any research will recognize that Bytemaster has been the author of both Steem and BitShares. So, but as far as being able to create two accounts at the same time, some people would want that. So it might be a good thing to have as an option. But then, like Paul just said, that that's going to be showing some favoritism, and they may not want to do that. They want to keep the platform neutral.
Well, if we think of BitShares as the DEX and not a currency, there's no competition.
Well, there is, because Dash is going to try and set up a DEX too. And Dash is trying to create a presence on Steem, just like BitShares is.
I know. I would like to see that, and then tipping and Fuzzy's tip bot could be another income mechanism with Steem right from the beginning.
Well, we have to see like how far Fuzzy is with the tip bot right now.
I'm glad to see he's getting some technical help with that.
He's actually also listening in, but I think he's still pretty busy with his kids.
Yeah, I think so too. He's listening when he can, but I think he's got his hands full with that one.
All right. Do we have anybody else who wants to give like a short update for this the last couple of days? What happened? What do you guys actually think about the integration of Omni on OpenLedger? Do you think we're going to have a lot of options now that we can trade Tether now on BitShares?
I don't know anything about that. I'll have to do it.
Well, basically, the way I understand Tether is you can send them some money, and they will issue new Tether tokens, and then you can transfer those tokens to whoever person you want to. And when the person wants to basically withdraw their money, then they can send the money back to Tether, to the headquarter basically, and they will send you the US dollars to your bank account. So it's like kind of like a money transfer, but pretty much centralized. But you have the opportunity to have a crypto token which is pegged to the US dollar, and you can pay bills and so on with that one.
Well, since it's centralized, won't it fall victim and fall prey to the same problems that other centralized systems have? And I think the answer to that would be yes.
Yeah, of course. If they lose their bank account, then you don't have access to the money. So they keep the reserves in the banks, and when the banks collapse, okay.
So it may appeal to mainstream people, if they, especially those that don't really have much of a clue about what cryptocurrency is and why it has come into being. So for those type of people, yeah, it may be a bridge. Maybe they will, in seeking asylum, if you will, from the banking system, they might see that as a way to do it, and then learn once they get in there that it's not quite as good as they thought it was. But it may be a good stepping stone for some people.
Well, it could be quite interesting because I think you can buy how's it called? Tether US dollar. You can buy that in the States. You think you can go to Bitfinex and buy it there. And then from there on, you can send it all over the place. Maybe you can even send it to the BitShares platform. So that could be maybe an easier way for Americans to send money into the BitShares.
Well, it's not until we have liquidity in the BitUSD and the other Bit assets. Until then, using BTS is as stupid as using Bitcoin for international money transfer. if you want to do it in a big way.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like, I think it's still complicated for US investors right now to move money into the BitShares system. So they always have to buy Bitcoins first and then go over Poloniex or any other gateway to get in. But if you could use like a stable tether dollar, then it could be maybe quite easy to get in.
Well, that's what Steam dollars are also for, a way to get into crypto easy.
Yeah, but you want to cash it out. That's the idea, and you first have to earn it. So not everybody's earning a couple of thousand Steam dollars.
What you're talking about is you need to have a two-way, not just a in, but you also need an out, is what you're saying. If you really want to have a good, solid cryptocurrency that can be used as ubiquitously as Bitcoin is.
Dan is on the right track, actually. I think that's also mentioned on the white papers. The easiest and cheapest way to get into BitShares should be, and currently also is, if you had a way to convert USD into BitUSD directly at a maybe very, very small fee, like 0.5% or something, or maybe 1%. That's the easiest thing to get into BTS, and that is where we should go for, and not tell people, yeah, first you buy Bitcoin and then you can buy BitShares, because that's, first of all, a bad trade because of the spreads, and secondly, if you wanted to move a lot of money into BitShares, then you would move Bitcoin first, and well, that doesn't work out well.
Yeah, here the problem is that the current gateways are not interested in that. I was talking to BitPay, I was talking to Coinbase, Coinify, and a couple of others, and they all tell me the same. The settlement currency today is still Bitcoin, so everybody provides basically a service where you can pay with any kind of crypto, but it will all be traded to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will be sold, and then the exchange is making money through a really bad Bitcoin price. And they tell me basically, as long as we don't really have any kind of traction, Ethereum style traction, they don't really consider us yet to add us as an option. So they don't really want to provide a US dollar to BitUS dollar gateway service because they don't see the demand.
Classic chicken and egg scenario.
As usual.
So we probably have to provide both.
Well, with new bits failing and Tether USD not being a real competitor, this may be a good time to start thinking about strategies to sell the BitUSD against, well, people that are looking for a stable currency with the advantages of blockchain technologies. Maybe all we need is a platform that makes it easier to integrate, like BitPay or something like that. Exactly, Fox is also right.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be quite interesting when I was already talking about the BlockPOS that we are working on right now. It's going to be the new point of sale system that is enabling basically merchants to accept a big variety of blockchain currencies, and one of them, of course, going to be all kind of smart coins.
But it has the same chicken and egg problem as everything else. Because if no one has BitUSD, then no one can spend BitUSD.
Yes, if you want to purchase in smart coins, but the system alone can of course accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and so on. So it doesn't really matter for the merchant with what kind of currency you show up. You just pay. And in our vision, basically, what we're going to do, we're going to use like something like a Shapeshift style service. Where whatever the customer is paying will be exchanged into BitUS dollar and BitEuro. So the merchant's going to sit there suddenly with BitEuro. What that means actually for our platform, and if you look at it a little bit further, it means we're going to have a lot of money coming into the BitShares platform, and the merchants now have all those Bit assets, and they either decide to cash it out, or to keep it, or to use it in a different way. So they have a lot of opportunities, but I think in the long term that could be quite interesting to analyze how our volume will increase when people start suddenly to send Bitcoin to a store. The Bitcoin then going to be automatically exchanged into a BitUS dollar, and then it just sits in our exchange for the time.
Automatically exchanged. That sounds so easy.
And that's how we want it to sound to end customers.
Well, but you need to tell them, and they will figure it out on their own, that it all depends on liquidity.
I agree. We got to get that liquidity before any of this stuff seems to be before it seems to be viable.
Well, there's another chicken egg problem, which is the market cap of BTS, which is like 10 million currently, or what is it, 12 million, something like that. And with the collateral requirements of at least 200%, that means that if you put every BTS into collateral, you could short or borrow at most 6 million BitUSD. Knowing that there are some of the BTS actually locked away in the reserves fund, and some of them not even been claimed yet, like 60% or so, I think the most we can technically borrow currently is like 400,000 if you had like a lot of BTS.
And that would be another assumption that the price doesn't rise, right? So if the price goes up, then we can of course issue more.
That changes it, yeah. Well, I think we just need our own Silk Road then, huh?
Well, just that our whole approach to liquidity has been through risk mitigation, and if you eliminate the volatility in the currency, and then it's going to be far more liquid, far more tradable, because people know it's going to look like tomorrow and the day before. Whereas many speculators depend on volatility in order to reap a profit. So those two forces really are acting against each other, and the risk mitigation really is the way to settle that out, I think.
So what is your opinion when we basically push this platform a little bit harder in the Bitcoin space until already blockchain affiliate or like blockchain fans, that they now can have this really cool system, and we're going to see a lot of inflow in funds into the BitShares platform. And now you're going to have a lot of merchants or shop owners, small business owners, sitting around with BitUS dollar. What do you think? What they're going to do? Are they going to keep it? Are they going to buy Bitcoin again? Or
why would a blockchain enthusiast buy BitUSD? Tell me. A blockchain enthusiast is looking for money and profit. Like all of them are investing in whatever goes up, and the BitUSD doesn't go up. It's like a safe bet. The BitUSD is not meant for speculators. The BitUSD is not actually meant for blockchain traders. It's not a trading. It's just a utility to get out of trading, because you can't make any profit with it.
Of course, this is for the traders, but if you are a business owner, you don't really want to get Bitcoin. You actually want to have a currency that is stable, because you have your profit margins, and you have to pay all your fees and your bills, and you don't want to have a Bitcoin which can change in value every day. So if you have to pay your employees every month, then you want to make sure that you earn the money so you can pay them.
Yeah, it's about productivity. You have to have a currency that represents the productivity. Otherwise, like you said, nobody would be willing to work in exchange for it. And that's what the business owner needs, is people to work in exchange for this currency. And once you expand that generalized reciprocity, that's where you're going to start getting all those transactional efficiencies out there. So you need to have real world applications, things that really touch the ground, and something we've been pushing for a long time. Where are the applications which touch the ground? And that's a position that we think should be taken, at least in the short term.
Well, there's two that just pop into my head, and I mean, there's quite a few of them that are being worked on out there. So, I mean, you've got PeerPlays, which is basically tapping into a gambling market. There's obviously a huge demand for that. And then you've got Kenco with his point of sale business. I mean, he's going to sell point of sale systems. So there's another real world, touching the ground, things that people need, products that are out there.
Oh, point of sale for what is the question now? And then, gambling is absolutely not any sort of a representation of productivity. I think that one of the closest I've seen is, entertainment applications. Recreation, for example, is really a derivative of productivity, because people need time to recreate themselves. So that's at least starting to get close. But actual, real, actually, how do you make stuff with it is a question I don't believe has been answered fully.
Well, not fully, but I mean, you see a lot of activity by people that think that there's. I mean, whether or not we're talking about markets or talking about productivity, those are kind of different things, but there's a lot of commonality. For example, the gambling. You mentioned entertainment. Gambling is entertainment to a lot of people, so that's a value to people that want entertainment in that fashion. Point of sale systems. It's you ask the question, or you pose the issue is, what is the point of sale systems for? Well, the focus I'm talking about here isn't on what the point of sale buyers are using, because there's obviously a market for point of sale. It's how can Code get his product out the door to get to those marketplaces.
Okay, I'm not criticizing any of these things. I mean, but a lot of them are derivatives. Like, gambling, recreation. The value of gambling, of recreation, is derived from the value of the productivity that preceded it. Those are derivatives, really. So many of these applications are derivatives of something else that's generating value. I think we need to get to that thing which is generating the real value with blockchain in order to get a currency with any kind of intrinsic value.
I see. Well, I see your point there. It does make sense. There's no question about that. But it's real productivity. You're right. Is not speculation. It's not market making from the standpoint of people just trying to find opportunities to make a middleman kind of buck. But I guess I'm just confused myself in what represents the real value when you're talking about things like entertainment. You say it's a derivative of real productive work, but I'm not sure people see it that way. But maybe that's not even really important in this conversation.
No, it's a very clinical description. What I'm talking about, it's not things that people say, "Oh, I'm going to be, concluding my derivative now." It's none of that. I mean, but that's the clinical definition of what's actually happening. And I'm not saying this is easy either. I haven't figured it out either. This is really, really hard. But in the other sense, it's the Holy Grail. You figure this out, you get that lightning spark to hit the ground, and you close that circuit, and you win. So that's what I think we're all trying to get to.
I'm wondering if the POS systems are going to allow merchants to replace their reward and loyalty points with user-issued assets that they can track and do other things with and then trade, and if that's going to be a selling point to get merchants on board.
I think here it has to be really, we have to come up with a really good model, basically, because not every loyalty reward system suits every business and every store. Every store has different margins, and if they do basically like a 10 buy 10 get 11 free, sometimes that is not profitable for a store. The stores have to figure out actually for themselves what is the right system. But of course, it is all integrated and people can use it already. And in our long-term vision, basically everybody can create their own loyalty reward tokens and just set it up with the system, and the system will send it out according to the settings.
Also, before you go, I just wanted to thank you for doing a great job replacing Fuzzy today.
Yes, here.
Well, thank you very much. I just jumped in because I was talking to Fuzzy before, and he's actually, I think in the long term, he's looking for other people who can help him and organize all the Hangouts, because he's quite busy. And of course, in his long-term vision, he also wants to invite other cryptocurrency communities here. And I also really like the idea because, of course, with BitShares Munich and with our point-of-sale systems, we are open to all kind of communities because we can process them. So we are open to Bitcoiners and Ethereum and all of those because we all hope to bring them a little bit closer together. I want to do like one final shout out before I have to leave. We're going to have next Tuesday, we're going to have another Bitcoin meetup here in Munich. And I would like to invite everybody who's close to. We're going to give you a sneak preview about the point of sales. We're going to put it up in the store. You can buy your beer and your drinks with Bitcoin and with smart coins and whatever coin you have. You just come over and you can pay for it. And I thought it's going to be really a lot of fun. And we're also going to have some press coverage. We're going to make a lot of pictures. And overall just have a really cool night and present a new product for the Bitcoiners and for the blockchain itself.
Sounds exciting. I wish I was in Germany.
All right, guys. So if anybody wants to take over, please do. And please make sure that you get the recordings to everybody who's recording to Fuzzy so he can upload it later and he can make it available for everybody. Thank you guys for coming and showing up, and hope to talk to you all soon.
Have a great weekend, Chris, and thanks for stepping in there.
Are we open in the forum right now for discussion?
I don't see any other contenders.
Cool. Well, we'd like to jump in if we can. This is my Forrest here and John, and we our name is Joe T here, but we represent Compress, which is a podcast that we're starting up, directly influenced by Steem and the Steem It community, and just trying to get the word out about what's going on there and create a really user-friendly interface for people who are unaware, as well as be able to get involved with some of the more highly technical jargon that's going on. I'll pop off here and let Forrest say some stuff. What was that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow here, but I was asking what's the difference between what you're trying to do here with what say the Daily Decrypt tried to do.
So I apologize to everybody in the Mumble forum here. For whatever reason, our connection has just been chopping everybody. So we're getting bits and pieces as we go along. Maybe you could just give us a quick repeat on that one. I'm really sorry.
Not a problem. How do you compare yourself to the Daily Decrypt? I'll type it in the chat box down here.
Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, we kind of caught you, but the chat box will definitely be helpful. I guess probably the first thing that I could say to the comparison that we might be able to draw from ourselves in Daily Decrypt is that we're not looking to be daily. And that we're not really too familiar with Daily Decrypt, so I'm really grateful that you've turned us on there. But our focus is highly community driven, which we feel is the spirit of Steem as well, and so we're really trying to emphasize that with new and inventive ways to just make it attractive for everybody to participate in these conversations, as well as contribute to what they want to be talking about and what questions they might have.
I missed your intro. Which community did you come to Steem from?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I heard that you missed our intro, but other than that, it was kind of choppy. So we really apologize for whatever reason. I'm actually currently trying to troubleshoot why I am having such a difficulty hearing everybody, but we're excited to share and answer questions and participate in a conversation, but we're also really not wanting to interrupt the flow of the show if we're not able to hear you guys. So trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. I see the question there in the text line, and so for to speak for Forrest, actually, Forrest, do you want to just go ahead and speak to what community you come from?
Yeah, so it'd be more from the Ethereum and Bitcoin community. I messed around with BitShares a bit, but I never got too deep into it. This is about as far as I've gone down that road, but I'm liking everything that I've seen so far.
And myself, I'm actually very new. I'm a greenhorn when it comes to anything cryptocurrent. My background is in community development and communications. So the fortuitous confluence that Forrest and I have found ourselves in to be able to participate at such a dawning of a platform like Steem It is, I don't know, it's auspicious that we met each other with his background and him being so knowledgeable in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and me having studied community development. So my background is more social media platform, but just as a user like Facebook, and I actually don't even have a Reddit account. So it's really fun for me to come into this world and learn as much as I can, because as often as I fight it, I'm the resident guru in the room for all things cryptocurrent. And man, I'm just learning how to code switch. I'm just learning how to translate all of these things that I'm learning for other people. So my goal with all of this was to learn as much as I can to share that with as many people that are willing to listen.
Well, that's an exciting place to be. I mean, we've all been there. We all kind of discovered crypto at some point, and we know that it's a very exciting place to be. So I certainly can appreciate your enthusiasm and hope that can translate into what you put on air or on media, whatever media you choose to broadcast or disseminate.
Yeah, thank you very much. That comes with great appreciation. Definitely the enthusiasm is here. And it's just, at this moment, just a lot of networking and learning from people who are already doing this, and just being in touch with the people who have a lot to contribute. Here we grow is kind of been the concept. We're all growing together, and this is the launch for us, at least.
Well, hopefully you can hear what I'm about to say really well, but we'll see whether or not you can hear enough of it or not. But one of the things I want to convey to you is that when the daily decrypt, I know you're not familiar with the daily decrypt. Your partner there is, but when it went away, it really put a big, huge gap in my daily consumption of information about crypto. I mean, I still am in touch, obviously, and I peruse the forum and I peruse YouTube to find a lot of information. So I'm in touch, but the Daily Decrypt was able to really scour a lot of information from a broad spectrum that I wasn't able to do personally on my own. And so that was a shortcoming that went away. That was something that went away that I'd really like to see come back. But your thing, it sounds like it's totally different because you're not doing it daily for one thing, but even a weekly, and the same concept of doing a purview, a survey of all the things going on in crypto, and then reporting to the public about it is a valuable
Well,
service.
I will say that even though I didn't catch you, I mean, maybe 8% of that came through. We have this on recording, so hopefully all of everything that is being said, it's being captured on my recording device, or the Mumble recording device. But with that in mind, yeah, I would just encourage anybody who is listening that is interested in, or contribute in any input or insight, that we'll put in the text box over here how you can get in touch with us. But I'm really grateful for anything that's being said at this moment. So I really do hope I can be said, but I guess I gather that the Daily Decrypt has been valuable for you. So I hope that was the gist of it.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. You got it.
So yeah, I guess that's just it from us. We were really excited. Last week we jumped on and we're having technical difficulties with the microphone. This week it's something different. Every test that we did was coming through good. But yeah, we'll rather than keep trying to troubleshoot, just open the forum again and just say thanks. And we're really glad to be a part of these conversations. And just really, really grateful for all the work that you all are doing out there.
Well, good luck to you too. Well, I guess this is going to be my jumping off point this morning. So everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care. Bye now.
Okay, bye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
In case people are just listening, seems that Jyoti needs a recording. So if anybody has a recording.
Just wanted to let everybody know, if you're still here, please reach out to Cube if you're interested in helping test the ShareBot that he's getting up and running on the forums. We're going to start with the forums, and then I think we're going to move to Reddit or Twitter next, and then obviously we'll go to the next one after that. But we want to make it so it's on the Steem network soon too. So the sooner we get the initial stuff set up and running, we've got Ivan and a couple people on Ronnie's team working to get it added to Steem, that we're talking about behind the scenes right now. I just want to let everybody know, though, that it would be very helpful if you would reach out to Cube and let him know if you're interested in helping test it, to make sure that it's bug free by the time we get really moving and using it. Because once we get to that point, I really think that it'll enable us to do a lot of things and create a heck of a synergy between Steemit and BitShares. For instance, the one that I normally give people is the example of, if you could have a coin, a UIA for each tag, and the moderators of those, of those subject tags on Steemit can actually give out tokens that might pay out dividends based on, an official account's earnings within that tag. So for instance, let's say Beyond Bitcoin, we have a bot that posts anything Beyond Bitcoin related to Steemit, And using that official account, if, the funds that are earned there, they're paid out to the people who hold the tokens in that tag. And then I can actually go through, and even though I might not be able to upvote a bunch of people more than once, I could potentially give them, give them tokens and tip them tokens that would give them a deeper level of participation and incentivization to participate on the Beyond Bitcoin sub Steem it. So I see this as something that can bring a lot of UIA creating to BitShares. And of course, I feel that is one of the foundational points that we can bounce off of from there to start really creating some persistent volume and, actual users using the BitShares wallet for Steem it. So just something to think about and something to let all you guys know about. And also, Jyoti, thank you for showing up, man. Normally I am here every single week. This week has been interesting to say the least. So thank you for all of you guys. This is a decentralized hangout, and it's cool that I don't have to be here and that this show can still go on. Thank you, everybody. And if you need any help or want any help or support, Jyoti, let me know, man. Like, I'm looking for people who want to do essentially exactly what you guys want to do with other DPoS-based chains and other chains and communities. We are Beyond Bitcoin, and I want to kind of do something like what Let's Talk Bitcoin does, only for essentially decentralized meetups and conferences, not just interviews and Hangout. Not just interviews. We can also, if you have something like that and you guys kind of represented Steem on that front, that would be really cool to have, one more show that is obviously covering, because if you look at Let's Talk Bitcoin, we have a bunch of people who are interviewing and doing really nice, high quality shows. But the one interesting thing that I've noticed is, whenever I, as a user and a newbie, pay attention to, for instance, the Daily Decrypt or any of these, I have to go into it knowing that they're being paid to cover this, this coin today. So what I prefer is that, that you have various communities with their representatives that kind of, like if there's a blockchain like PeerPlays, you're going to have gaming communities and game betting communities and gambling communities that are going to surround that. And if you have somebody who focuses on that niche, they can cover, yes, with their own representatives, and then we can give them all a piece of Beyond Bitcoin in the end. And then I can work as the Block Explorer later on for my own show and know that Beyond Bitcoin is owned by all these various DPoS-based chains and other chains that are offering cool services that would help, form a symbiosis. And once we have that symbiotic relationship between chains and we have the representatives and their communities, then we can start having panels and conferences. So that's the direction I want to move. And I want to help people like you who are stepping up to do this stuff, because I've been trying to tell people for a long time, I'm not trying to, be Beyond Bitcoin. What I'm trying to do is help people recognize that their communities can all be part of Beyond Bitcoin and they can all be Beyond Bitcoin. And I want to get people working together to have that platform to leverage it to help not only themselves, but to help the symbiotic community that they have relationships with. So if it helps one chain, it's helping potentially all chains. And if we do that, then we have also a great place in the future for people to start covering, let's say we have each representative from all these DPoS chains. They become BitShares committee members because their coin is traded on the exchange, and they have a reason to make sure that BitShares itself is not turned on the tokens that depend on it, or attacked in any way that, if you have all these different tokens that are trading on the exchange, and you have communities that actually participate in the governance of BitShares to represent their community, you have something that I think would ultimately be one of the most beautiful things in crypto that people have seen. But just something to think about, and just wanting to try to remind everybody what my original vision has always been for this, and to let you guys know that, if you step up like Jyoti and them are doing, I mean, these are the things that I'm loving to see. It's not competition. These are people who want to build excellent, amazing stuff in the space. And it's like, man, when you don't have all the resources yourself, you want people to join up and do this type of stuff. So I got to give you guys props, and I want to let you know anytime you guys want to cover the stuff that you're doing, or if you guys ever want to, do something like that on Steam, to bring the Beyond Bitcoin community together to ask questions, you can always feel free to just ask what you need, man, and we'll try to do what we can. Well, Jyoti, I could tell you're a community management person, just the fact that you're realizing, like, you understand all this, like, it seems like just from listening to it, like, yeah, it's been a long time coming, buddy. So this is just the first little step that I see, and I'm just like, when I saw you post it, I was like, yes, like, because I was initially asked if I would consider running a Steamcast, and I was thinking, man, like, that's so tempting. But we're now in a place where, with Beyond Bitcoin, because we're at BitShares, where we can start covering and bringing these communities together. And if we have talented people like you guys who want to, all sit down, and, like, if we have representatives who are really wanting to represent these different tokens, we can have a community of people who cover all this stuff. And once that stuff happens, we actually have a grassroots media organization platform that is run and owned by the people in these communities. And it's like, nothing to me gets sexier than grassroots, right? Especially when everybody's actually working together and making it happen. But thank you guys, and I don't want to keep you all day, and I know that I feel kind of rude just because the day has turned out not quite as it normally does, but I have a little bit of time to talk toward the end of this, ironically. Jericho's not crying into the microphone, I guess is the best way of saying it. But you guys will not see that stuff happening a lot more here. I'm moving in the direction of changing my shifts at work and some other stuff, so I can make sure that this is not happening again. So I do appreciate all of you, and thank you for joining today.
Yeah, nice to hear you talk, Faz. Been a while.
It's always nice to hear you talk too, Joey. I'm glad to see you around, buddy.
Yeah, I was away for a while. I was out of the country.
Did they kick you out of the country before the Brexit happened?
No, I didn't go to the UK. And it's still, even with all the hype, it will still take years before you actually leave, right? It's a lot of panic, fear-mongering.
Yeah, man, we live in interesting times. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. I also missed the whole Ethereum DAO thing. I've been reading up on it. That's a big mess looking from it. I was looking at the news.
Well, it's funny. I had a friend who I've been talking to about the ShareBot. He was actually one of the guys who has been looking over at this stuff and saying, he was looking at the DAO, and he was looking at Ethereum, and he was also he's been doing stuff for BitShares behind the scenes, looking at the code for the ShareBot and stuff like that for me. And we've had a few conversations about Ethereum, and he was like, man, Ethereum's the only one. And I was like, I told him, I said, Ethereum is great, and I think that it deserves its $1 billion market cap. I just think that there are other cryptocurrencies like BitShares that probably deserve to be pretty up there as well. And he kind of disagreed with me, and then all of a sudden this DAO thing happened, and he started realizing, he came back to me the other day, and he said, man, you might be right. like there's, the doubts, like Ethereum is not perfect. It's not, it's got a lot to be worked out. And I was like, yes. And I was like, and we need the crypto space to kind of do this stuff to help with all these things, right? We need to all come together and start forming these alliances to actually build what we need to build, as opposed to saying, oh, this is a flag here, this is a flag here, we're all separate. We don't need Game of Thrones, where everybody's murdering each other to become the next king. We need to all work together to try to uplift the technology. And at that point, we're all better off. But man, I mean, the DAO thing has kind of gotten people realizing that just because something has been marketed very well and has reached $1 billion market cap doesn't mean that it's perfect. It doesn't mean that there isn't a need for these other cryptocurrencies out there. And that's, that it offers a great opportunity to all of us. I just hope that we can, consider taking the time and the effort to capitalize on it and work together and collaborate to make our efforts as strong as possible.
Yeah.
And with that said,
I'm kind of worried about
the Dow caused the Brexit. Wouldn't that be a headline story?
I'm kind of worried about the fallout from all of this, because Ethereum is stealing the spotlight. If it has some of these catastrophes, then it might put a downer on the whole crypto scene. I kind of wished I didn't go to the whole hype thing and took it a little slower, but I always was afraid that this was something that was going to happen. Well, we talked about it earlier, that they were hyping it so much that even a small setback could cause real big ripples. Then again, it is interesting.
Yeah, it started out, they said we want to gain as much capital as possible early on, just because that capital will serve to bring more mind share into the system. But at the same time, like you said, you take that risk once you are so capitalized. If you don't have a platform that's quite ready for it, there can be some big losses if something like this is found at the wrong time. But it seems like ETH is somewhat recovering.
Yeah, that's something I really
very interesting. Now, real quick, it looks like Jody, you asked me a question here. Was I ever part of Let's Talk Bitcoin? No, actually, we considered it at one point in time, but it was just, and it wasn't anything against Let's Talk Bitcoin. It was just that we had, we wanted to take it a slightly different route. And we wanted it to be more like kind of, not just, I don't want to say, that we wanted to take it a different route in terms of like omitting interviews, but we wanted to make it, if you notice when you join up here, we pretty much have it open for anybody to be able to talk about whatever they want. And most of the interview type shows on Let's Talk Bitcoin, yeah, you could participate in the discussion after it's up. You could go to the Let's Talk Bitcoin and go to their little forums that they have after, the comments after every post. Of content that they have, and you can have your voice heard there. But we thought, it would be great if people could join up and actually participate in the discussion and be kind, all too often people who are the personalities behind a talk show or any content operation, they become, it might have been, it might be, because I never really realized that. But Adam, for a while, was interested in working with us. It's a long story though. There was a history between multiple things, and we kind of wanted to have like it wasn't not necessarily compete with Let's Talk Bitcoin, but we felt like Let's Talk Bitcoin was so central to Bitcoin, and that put us in a place where it's like, we're on a, now we're going to be competing against all these other, that we're competing against Bitcoin, when really we're trying to offer a service that works so well with Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, that we wanted the flagship exchange to be something where, we can actually cover various communities that are joining our exchange, and offer them a suite of different things that they can use, like voting modules where they can go and vote on their own stuff. Or maybe you can lock away your PeerCoin in BitShares ecosystem and get voting power where you're able to vote on the evolution of BitShares and still have your PeerCoin, but you actually, you're borrowing BitShares from other people to vote on, what your coin will need. What you see the DEX being able to evolve into to help your coin is the path that you and your community would try to lobby for, right? So we saw this as kind of like a different path that is, all too often it's seen as a show, but there's way more to it because we're trying to make it more of a, more of something that reflects the exchange itself, the DEX itself, and all the opportunities that are available within what the BitShares DEX has offered and what the community has built so far. Now, once we start bringing other tokens in, they're going to have experts that will want to bring other things to BitShares, and those things will help them strategically. So there's a good reason to try to get those communities to have their own weight in the governance of BitShares over time. Obviously, early on, it's not necessarily the best idea, but we can move in that direction and have it be a truly decentralized, worldwide community-driven thing.